have some more analysts weighing in on the future of Xbox and the console hardware, saying it's not going anywhere, which is something Xbox has been saying themselves, but you still have the debate out there as to whether Xbox is going to have consoles in the future, whether that is an at-home console, a handheld, all of that stuff. Looks like it isn't going to be going anywhere. We have the file size of Indiana Jones in the Great Circle. It's massive, and the reviews are going to be coming out this week. It's a big release here for Xbox that they need to have this game do well. But the style of game it is, the IP that it has, all that stuff. We have some information about Call of Duty and the movement of the game. Avowed is under fire. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there with the art director of the game, Matt Hansen, saying some just absolutely crazy stuff on social media. And you have to ask, will this affect the game? So we'll talk about that stuff plus some other things. But before we continue, if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit that subscribe, share the video, like the video, all of that stuff. Let's jump right into the news. So we have the whole announcement about Xbox multi-platform stuff that they have put games on PlayStation 5. This happened at the beginning of the year. There was a huge shitstorm when that did occur. So much so that Phil Spencer had to go out of his way and do a business update with all of the leadership at Xbox because of just the insane reaction that did get, or at least the rumors that were put out there created this crazy reaction. And we've gone through this year and it's been fun. I mean, playing Xbox, all the games are there day one on Xbox Game Pass. I don't care that other people on other platforms get to play the games that I play. I play Xbox for the Game Pass value, for the ecosystem that I do enjoy having with the Play Anywhere stuff. And I just have so many games on that hardware already that, hey, I'm going to continue to play Xbox as long as there is Xbox available. But now we have the ads that just came out a couple weeks ago where this is an Xbox. I mean, basically they were showing off everything. They kind of made some jokes as well with showing like a litter box and all that stuff. But basically they were saying that everywhere is going to be an Xbox. And I think this was because they were leading up to launch the Xbox app on the Android platform where you could purchase and play your games via cloud gaming. But that has so far at this point been stalled because of the US courts. So that hopefully will be coming out at some point. But I believe this ad was in preparation for that business model. Xbox is now literally anywhere that you can get the Xbox app, especially when they do release that feature where you can purchase and play your games. And I think, to me, as somebody who has lots of other things going on, being able to sit back anywhere and play my games when I have a few minutes here or there, an hour here and there, it's a very enticing feature to keep me on the Xbox ecosystem. But then this begs the question for a lot of people, does this mean that they're preparing themselves to ditch creating the Xbox hardware? Because the reality of the situation is they are last in the hardware game when you compare the big three. And they're significantly behind PlayStation and Nintendo. A major reason for that as well is they just do not have the pull in other regions of the world. They're mainly in North America, and then in other parts of the world, PlayStation and Nintendo dominate. I don't think Xbox has any chance in the Asian regions, even if they have the best lineup of games. So putting Xbox on devices where those people play their games, which would be like on mobile devices, to me is a very smart business move. But we have Matt Circana here, or Matt Piscatella of Circana, who weighs in here, who does the monthly results here for sales, looks at the industry analytics and everything. So he weighs in here about the Xbox platform, the console, all that stuff, and whether it is going anywhere. And specifically, it says here, if you look at Microsoft's earnings, Xbox as a whole appears to be doing pretty darn well, even with the recognized and acknowledged challenges in the dedicated hardware space. Whether something is working or not depends to a large extent on what the internal goals are. There's probably some room for debate here, as the goals may have shifted around recently given some of the surrounding reporting. Could Microsoft leave the hardware market? I mean, I guess it could, but I don't see that happening. What I would believe to be more likely approach would be the creation of an Xbox front end for portable PC Steam Deck type devices, and trying to go the OEM route so third-party manufacturers could make Xbox type devices as well as what Microsoft produces, like Windows PC and Surface devices. Would it work? Who knows? And that's kind of been the thing that I've been thinking about for a while, as to whether they are going to be doing this in the next generation. Yes, we're hearing about the Xbox handheld and that they are building their own, but at the same time, are they also going to just be licensing out the Xbox software, the the Xbox UI to other manufacturers that want to make dedicated handhelds there, where you're staying in the Xbox ecosystem, but you're getting a very nice console experience. One thing that is definitely plaguing the PC handhelds, I mean, at least in my opinion, some people out there may think it's fine, but I think it's absolutely terrible the way that Windows works on these PC handhelds. I mean, it's very cumbersome. Yes, you can get around it and you'll figure it out and everything, and eventually you get used to it, but it's just not a good experience, especially when you're comparing it to Steam OS, which on the Steam Deck is absolutely phenomenal to use. And I would love to see Xbox with their handheld create that OS that just makes it a console-like experience. And if you were to license that out to other manufacturers, and then they create like an Asus Xbox handheld or a Lenovo Xbox handheld specifically with the Xbox ecosystem in there, I think that would be very enticing for Xbox to want to do. So we will see what ends up happening, but I absolutely think that would be a good idea. And I mean, they're already building out the Xbox app and making all these changes, making it more compact. You go onto the browser version of Xbox Cloud Gaming, is really starting to look like that console user interface that could easily be just transferred onto these mobile devices. So I think that would be a smart idea. That could be another future of the Xbox hardware. They may be getting not only their own first-party hardware, but there may be third-party Xbox hardware that you're going to be able to go out and purchase, which also solves that issue of pricing, because you would best believe that there's going to be some lower tiered stuff like the Xbox Series S style of hardware, where if people don't want to spend the highest amount and get the highest resolutions and frame rates, they just want to get into the ecosystem, they go pick that up. And then for the enthusiasts, they go and purchase the more expensive hardware that is out there. So the future of Xbox hardware is changing, but it isn't going away. And every analyst and Xbox themselves have said that, even though you'll still see people online arguing that it is going away and that they are going to stop making the hardware. Things could change, but I just don't see it happening as of right now. Now, one of the biggest games from Xbox that is coming out in just a couple of weeks now, in like a week or so, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Looking forward to this one. This is going to be a day one download and play for me. It's a massive file size, so you have to get ready for a huge download. This is about 130 gigabytes. This is from Clobril saying that the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle size is 130 gigabytes. Machine Games previously already stated that this is the biggest and longest game that they have ever done. So this is going to be an adventure. This is going to be a big game. There's going to be lots to do, lots to see, and lots to go through here with the overall file size, especially if you're a completionist or whatever. I'm sure it's going to take a decent amount of time to complete. Big game here for Xbox. They need this one to do well. On the horizon in 2025, there is a lot of games that are coming out. I mean, the next one after this is Avowed. Avowed has been under scrutiny recently, and of course, I mean, it seems like this happens with almost every single game where you have the culture wars coming in and hurting a video game, at least with the online discourse. I tend to lean to the side that, yes, there's a lot of people online that benefit from causing these types of discussions around these games. They make money on YouTube, they make money on social media, but I don't think it has a huge effect on the actual success of the game, as some of them make it seem like it does. I think games, they do well or they don't do as well for various reasons, but the online discourse around the culture wars, I don't think it has as big of an effect on it. And I could be completely wrong on that. It's just, you do see that even in the real world, where the online world does not reflect the real world when you're out there talking to people and having discussions and everything. It's just not nearly the same. People aren't as angry as they are online. But here's one that I think is just absurd. It's just absurd that this guy would go out there and say these types of things just before, a couple of months before the release of one of Xbox's biggest games, rather than just keeping his mouth shut on his own political ideology. If you're trying to push this into video games, you're doing it, but going out there and saying this is why you made these games is, to me, just absolutely absurd. And I think it will hurt the overall discussion. And plus, he said some pretty terrible things out here. This is Matt Hansen, the art director of Avowed, a game that I'm extremely excited for. This is why this one kind of annoys me, because I feel like this discussion around this could potentially hurt some of the success of this game. Luckily, it is in Game Pass as well, so that may not be the biggest thing in the world. But yeah, if you haven't heard, he said some crazy stuff here, and basically it all started because someone found that there are pronouns in the game. Elon Musk quote tweeted here, Grum, saying having pronouns in a fantasy video game is utterly unacceptable. That's a completely different discussion, and I'm not going to get into that. You can be for that, against it. I really don't care. It's your money, your wallet. You spend the money on the stuff that you want to play. You don't have to play it if you don't like that. And if you don't care, you can go ahead and try it out. But then Matt Hansen here goes to the next mile here, rather than just kind of realizing the game is coming out. He's making a video game for a company. There's people that work for this company that could potentially be affected if this game doesn't do well because of his unhinged rants. But he puts this out on Blue Sky and says, "Oh, Elon, you sweet summer child, this is only going to embolden me, you sad sack of shit." That was one of the second things he actually tweeted out. He also puts this out in response to Elon Musk's quote tweet saying, "Sickos.jpg, I wanted so badly to make him mad with my game, and I cannot believe it actually happened. Just wait until you see the default, you sad little shit." And I guess this is where my issue comes in. Like, politically, I will disagree with a lot of probably what this guy thinks, but I don't care. If we disagree politically, I'll still be your friend. I'll still talk to you. We'll have debates. We'll have discussions. I couldn't care less about your politics, your religion, your race, your gender, your color. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care about that, as long as you're not unhinged and doing crazy things. But the problem I have with this here is he's basically saying and admitting and giving more credence here to the anti-woke people, who I think at the same time are absurd in their own right by thinking everything is woke all the time, but giving credence to the fact that there's political activism pushed onto these games purposefully by the people actually going out there and working on these games. He's basically saying that that's exactly what he did here with Avowed, which I think is going to lead to a completely different discussion as this game does get closer to its release, which is annoying because, as you know, now Matt Hansen, because he couldn't control himself and putting this out there before the game's release, that's going to dominate a lot of the online discussion, at least before it does launch. And when it does launch, even if it is great, you know that people out there are going to lie and pretend like it isn't good a lot because of this. And if it is bad, it's just even worse because it goes ahead and it gives more credence to the people who think every single game basically woke, to show that yes, there is political activism within these developers that is going out there purposefully pushing that onto the games and then potentially ruining these games, because instead of trying to make a good game, they're trying to make something that pisses off the other side of the political spectrum or what have you, and gets them mad. So hopefully that isn't the case, but he goes on to talk about even some more crazier things, which I think is just absolutely absurd. It doesn't matter who you're saying this towards or against, with their color, their race, their religion, or whatever. It's wrong. It's bad. And to be completely honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft looks at this and does potentially something about it. But he tweeted this out way back in 2020. Now people are digging up old stuff on him, saying, "Reminder to black artists out there who are looking for portfolio reviews or job advice, my DMs are open and you will always have my priority. We got too many crusty white dudes in this field." You have a lot of people taking this and saying that this is illegal hiring and it should be looked at. He also went on with this post here, which again recently, which is just again absurd here, which is a response to an article saying we must have compassion for those on the losing side of the presidential election. And he quote tweets that, basically saying, from someone who wrote, "I also firmly believe that we need to crush these people's spirits into blood and earth and to be nice to the immoral supporters of the aspirational gore-soaked dictator," which is crazy on itself. And then quote tweets that, says, "They need to feel the sting of shame for the rest of their putrid lives, to be honest, and that is me being nice." So this is the guy who is making these games, who is making Avowed, and now this is going to dominate a lot of the narrative, at least in the online forums. Whether that has a huge effect on the success of the game or not, on the commercial success, that is yet to be foreseen. But my whole thing here is that he's working for Xbox, Microsoft, for Obsidian, creating this game, and it, to me, it's just a complete disregard of everybody out there who's spending their hard time working on this game, hoping for it to be successful, and instead of just doing what you can to make sure that it is the most successful it possibly can be, coming out with these just absurd, unhinged statements before the game releases could have an effect on the success of the game, which has a trickle-down effect on everybody who has worked on a game. If this game fails, and this is a big reason for the failure of it, who knows what happens to a lot of those employees? Who knows what happens to the next Avowed? With the way that the gaming industry is right now, To me, it's just not a good look. And an art director should be, I would say, less selfish, less narcissistic in putting out his crazy opinions out there, knowing that it could affect the video game, and more cognizant of his actions going forward. So we'll see if there's anything here that does happen, but I'm still going to be playing this game regardless. Still going to be seeing if it is good. I just hope the whole narrative focuses on whether the game is good or whether the game is actually bad. All right, so next thing I do want to jump over here to talk about is Call of Duty. We have some information on the movement for Call of Duty. We know Omni movement was a major thing with the recent release of this game. It was game changer for me. I think Omni movement is awesome in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, but we have some information on the mechanics, and MW19 and a developer speaking about why movement mechanics were slowed after Modern Warfare 19. He says here, speaking on Twitter, this is Treyarch's Matt Skrontz confirming that movement mechanics were slowed dramatically after Modern Warfare 2019 because faster is not always healthier, saying once prone and crouch speeds become too fast, you end up with a mismatch between first and third person POV, leading to snaking, which has been a massive problem in the past, as I've never personally been a fan of spamming jump during combat. Neither am I. So when we intentionally designed Omni movement mechanics, we adjusted sway and bob when jumping by default to ensure that that wasn't the most effective tactic during engagements, and I'll say that's been pretty good. And if you want to spam jump while shooting, we have perks and attachments to increase effectiveness, just like we do for slide and dive. So that's interesting. They looked at the mechanics, they looked at MW19, and they were thinking, we want to make movement fast in Black Ops 6, which it is. I think movement is great, but there has to be some sort of balance so people aren't spamming it and making it bad. I think Treyarch did an incredible job here with the Omni movement. I really do enjoy it. It's just very fun. It's very fun, fluid, and it feels great in your hands. And I hope this type of movement kind of transfers over to other games. Obviously, it should be different depending on the type of Call of Duty that it is. We're hearing that Advanced Warfare may be coming back, so it would be, I would say, similar, but a little bit different, more like floaty and stuff. But I think they did a great job, and this is going to serve as a basis, I think, going forward for a lot of the Treyarch games, and that's exciting to see. But that's just a little interesting information there on what is going on here with the Call of Duty movement system. Now, jumping over here to talk about CDPR, we have some more information here via Eurogamer on the next game, Witcher 4, as well as things that they have learned here from Cyberpunk 2077. As we know, with Cyberpunk 2077, the launch was terrible. For a lot of people, they felt deceived by what they were told and what they were shown before the game launched, and then what was actually in their hands when it did come out. But they bounced back, obviously, very, very good. The game did very good commercially. The DLC people touted as one of the best DLCs made. So CDPR definitely bounced back from that official launch, and they have a little bit of update here on what they are thinking. So the next game, Witcher 4, which is in full production now, which is exciting to hear. They say will be bigger and better than The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, which is cool. Witcher 4 will likely release in 1 to 2 years after the full reveal, and we haven't really had that full reveal, I don't believe. We know that they're working on it, but they haven't shown us anything on it. Lessons learned from Cyberpunk, they say there's no magic, there's only hard work and making sure you stay on the right course. And I think one of the things with Cyberpunk that really did hold it back with the launch specifically was that they had to get that thing working on the PS4 and the Xbox One, which definitely hurt it. And going forward into the next game, they are starting here on, if they're going to have it working on the Series X and the base PlayStation 5, that's a much better position than what the base PS4 was and the Xbox One was at the launch of Cyberpunk. Those consoles, the current gen, released at a far, I say, better performance, more power comparatively to last gen, which those things release instantly. That were pretty anemic right off of the bat. So that I think will help it as well when they do come out with The Witcher 4. It's a better studio organization to avoid another buggy launch, including better review processes and more time for pre-production. Cyberpunk's launch wasn't the reason to switch to E5. They wanted to share tech between multiple projects simultaneously, and the PC first release is not in the cards at the moment and will launch on console at the same time. Great to hear about the whole console thing launching there at the same time. They aren't going to prioritize PC over the console version, which you would have thought with Cyberpunk 2077, maybe they would because of that launch, but that's good to hear, and that they're learning from their mistakes. I mean, The Witcher 4 is going to be one of the biggest games released probably ever with how big that franchise is now, especially after The Witcher 3. So a lot of people are going to be keeping their eyes on that one. Okay, we have an update here for that Tencent game that is looking like a clone of Horizon, at least in the art style. The more I see it, the less cloney I think it is in gameplay. This kind of actually reminds me a little bit of some Power World mixed in here. It's a mix between everything because there's a lot of crafting. The world doesn't look the exact same, but there is a lot of similarities in the art style overall. I mean, even just like the UI looks kind of similar here to Horizon. But if you take a look at this gameplay, I think there will be enough differences that it will save them from a major lawsuit, because again, there's a lot of crafting. This kind of, from the survival in here, kind of reminds me a little bit of Power World with Horizon into one singular game. It will be interesting to see if PlayStation does pursue some sort of lawsuits over, I would say, the art direction of it and some of the stuff they have in there, because you could definitely put together a list of like why these two games are similar and why this developer here potentially copyrighted and stole some of the same things that were in Horizon. But we will see what happens here. Maybe they don't want to pursue. Maybe this game won't even get nearly big enough for them to care at all. One of the things with Power World is why Nintendo probably pursued it more so than anything is because of how big it did get. And they're now only looking for like $66,000 out of it. But at the end of the day, with Power World, the similarities between them and Pokemon in the art and with the concept they were going for, if that lawsuit isn't a huge thing, I don't know how much PlayStation is going to have on this one, but it's just overall funny story how they went out there, launched and announced this game, and maybe we're expecting nobody to see any of the similarities for Horizon, which is kind of absurd. And finally, Marvel Rivals. They have confirmed 5 more characters ahead of the launch. So if you're looking forward to this game, this hero shooter from NetEase, here are the 5 other characters that are going to be coming ahead of the overall game. It is there's 25 characters overall, but Wolverine, Iron Fist, Black Widow, Cloak and Dagger, and Squirrel Girl will be added to that roster. This game, I think, will do decent just because it has the Marvel IP. Overall, I think there was some controversy around this game. There was something going on here with a money laundering controversy, which I don't know how big of an effect it will have, but they do say that the Marvel Rivals money laundering controversy potentially involves several high-ranking NetEase officials who have been arrested due to the allegations of money laundering amounting of potentially $300 million. Pretty crazy to think about that. But if you're looking forward to this game, some new characters are coming. It's like a Overwatch clone basically with Marvel characters. I'm sure there will be people who are very much into that. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up, share the video, like the video, all that stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.